Collaborating with Sierra Trading Post, wanted to do a review on the Columbia Sportswear Moonstone sleeping bag. That is the bag on the right, the blue one. The bag on the left is a Kelty Mistral, and I am not comparing these two bags, okay? These are two very, very different bags. But I wanted to throw out the Kelty, just kind of a basic comparison so you have something to compare it to in size, another sleeping bag. And we might discuss some of the differences. But again, this is not comparing these two bags as they are very different. First, let's talk about why this is even in my system. If I've got another bag, actually I've got two bags, two mummies, both Kelties, great bags by the way. Why am I adding a third? Well, one, I've got two boys that like to go backpacking with me from time to time, so I needed something else. But more specifically, the biggest driving force for this to enter my system is weight. This bag is a lot lighter than anything I've got. And if you're looking at lightening your pack load, this is one way to do it, is your sleeping bag. For me, one of the biggest driving forces on that was the back problems. But I know a lot of you guys, you're just interested in the light load. And I'll tell you what, the lighter I go than what I have in the past, the more I appreciate it, back problems or not, I'm digging it. We'll get to weight and compaction in just a minute. The first thing I want to talk about is this is an 800 fill Goose down. 90% of that is down and 10% of that is feather. So down is going to be the best stuff that you want in there. It does have a stash pocket, what they call it, on the side. If I remember what side it is. It's not very big. They say you could stick a phone in there. Honestly, my phone, yeah, it might fit. But what I use it for is I take the stuff sack and I just put it in there so I don't lose it at night. Consequently, the electronics, you guys know I film a lot, and I have to put the electronics in my sleeping bag with me because my body heat needs to keep the batteries warm. Otherwise, I have battery problems. This is a 32 degree rating. One thing to always remember about ratings on sleeping bags is take them with a large grain of salt. Reason being is often people will sleep comfortably at different temperatures. So just because this is a 32 and maybe it's 40 degrees might mean you sleep cold. However, maybe it's 25 degrees and this is plenty of bag for you. So you kind of have to know that about yourself and how you're going to react to different temperatures. Myself, I tend to sleep a little bit cold. I've tried this out in a multitude of different temperatures on a multitude of different trips. One of those was a very simple one with my kids out in the trailer parked on the side of our house. It was a very cold night that night, and I thought, what a good controlled opportunity for me to spend the night. And I did get cold in that bag. Now the temperature dipped down into the 20s, so it did exceed what this bag is rated, and it performed as I expected it to. Now I did just mention that I have a tendency to sleep cold. However, what I found with this bag is that in general, the 32 degree rating on it for me is a pretty good rating. In fact, the last night I spent on it, awesome trip by the way, to a peak that was 11,326 feet. This thing performed wonderfully. I was warm all night long. It was very nice. Now let's open this up real quick and look on the inside. The inside, while we're using the zipper here, these are YKK zippers, seem to work well. I do notice, like in many sleeping bags, that the zipper will catch the fabric sometimes. That's kind of a pain. But I've yet to find many sleeping bags that don't have that problem. So the inside, you can see it has this reflective material. It's what Columbia calls omni-heat, and it's supposed to trap and recirculate your body heat to make the bag warmer, but at the same time being breathable. Marketing gimmick? Maybe. I do think it works a little bit, and it certainly, as far as the breathability goes, is wonderful. If you ever tried a space blanket and you're thinking this material is like a space blanket as far as breathability, it's completely opposite. The space blankets, at least the ones I've used, do not breathe very well at all. This bag breathes just fine. The one hit I would give the Omni Heat. As you can see, what is that? Well, that's a piece of duct tape. Why? Because I have a rip in it. So you will notice from time to time you'll get feathers that come out. And before my last trip, I noticed there was a lot more feathers than typical. And sure enough, there's a gash in there about like this big. Now again, I don't know how that happened, but I did just mention I do put a lot of my electronics inside my sleeping bag so I can keep my batteries warm at night so I can extend their life when out filming these trips that I go on. So that could have been a possibility, I don't know. Other than that, again, I can't remember how many trips I've been with this yet, but it's been quite a few. I haven't had any other problems with the Omni Heat fabric inside. The material on the outside is what they call super light 15D ripstop. So you can kind of see the pattern there, the ripstop, typically what you'd see on other ripstop material. So the outside is ripstop, obviously the inside is not. I have not had any problems on the outside thus far, so the outside is in really good condition, haven't worried about it to this point. Let's go to the top of these sleeping bags and give you just a little bit of comparison. So you can see the Moonstone, again the blue there on the right. When it's completely zipped up, it really snugs you down in there. You see the difference here and here. Now this Kelty and many others will do much the same thing. It's got a Drawcord here and that'll cinch up and it'll pull it down. This is very helpful in maintaining the heat. The one thing that actually took me a little bit of getting used to on this is when you zip it all the way up, you're pretty much cocooned in there. And it took some getting used to that I couldn't get my shoulders out if I had to access a bag or something when it was zipped up all the way. I'd almost call it a training issue in that something that you just become accustomed to and understood. This too does have a Drawcord. I don't bring a pillow with me. Oftentimes I'll just use a jacket or something. And this kind of helps keep that jacket in there so it doesn't roll around. It's not perfect, but it does help keep it confined as your pillow. One of the big advantages besides weight with down material is how well it compacts. And I'm just going to give you a comparison with these two bags. And you can see these two bags are about the same size. First of all, this is the bag that the Moonstone came with. The bag that the Kelty have, and I'm not bagging on this. No pun intended, I really didn't mean to say it that way. I'm not bagging on this one at all. This is a great bag, I've enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it. But what you have to understand is these are two different styles. These are two different markets of bags and thought process and philosophy. So the stuff sack that this came with was much bigger. And in order to get it to even fit in half of my backpacks, I had to get a stuff sack for it. So here's the stuff sack. This is a Sea to Summit stuff sack. You can already tell right now a little bit of the difference. But to give you a real idea, we're actually going to stuff these down and give you a good visual. Now we're done. This will fit in my backpack, but it takes up the complete bottom. I've got to stuff it in and kind of push it down in the bottom. It'll fit. Now, let's go to the Moonstone. So there's the comparison. You can see there's quite a bit of difference between the Moonstone and just kind of a normal synthetic bag. Again, not bagging on these guys, these are good bags. But there's a lot of advantages that these have. And I would say one big disadvantage, we'll get to that in a minute. Weight. One of the big reasons I got it. What do we sit at with the bag and stuff sack? We're looking at 1 pound, 10 ounces. That is a big difference from the normal bags I carry, and I can tell a big difference when I'm carrying. Talked about a downside with this type of bag, and actually there's two that I can think of readily offhand. However, one you can mitigate very easily. So we'll talk about that one first, and that is if down gets wet, it does not maintain its ability to retain warmth. So that is an issue. That's something you need to consider in keeping this dry when out. The other downside to this, and let's not pull any punches, when you get into down bags, when you get into lightweight bags, it's going to cost. There's not very many ways around that. You can get them on sale, that helps. This bag is running about $350 to $400. So is it the cheapest bag out there? No, it's not. But there are cheaper bags that are, let's say, $650 down, and some of those weigh a pound heavier than this. So those still might be an option for you. However, this is pretty much on par for what is out there weight-wise, the fill rate of the down material. It's pretty much on par. In my opinion, this is going to be geared towards more of the people that really want to go ultralight. Or, while I don't want to go ultralight necessarily, my goal is to really lighten my load because I have lower back problems. If I don't take care of that now, I'm not going to be backpacking years down the road, and I do not want that to happen. So again, that was a big driving force for me to add this bag to the system. One more thing, the unintended consequence of getting this bag is this. This might be a silly thing, but it means a lot to me. One of the things I really like about this bag is when I'm done, my other bags, I've got to put them in a stuff sack and really cinch them down in order to get them to even fit in my backpack. I find a lot of times at the end of a trip, or just in this case when I'm packing up, that I don't have to stuff it. All I have to do is just throw it in the bottom of the backpack, and I'm done. I can't tell you how much more I like that than putting a big sleeping bag into a stuff sack. This certainly helped in gaining a much lighter pack and hopefully prolonging my back so I can do this for years to come. All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.